Samsung, the attendee utilizing Samsung, may you please mute yourself? The Samsung A336.
Your connector, Paya.
Anip?
The tree connector on me, Pa.
Was the Kamala Bill Chinsuba? One of Pamela Kamala in Tango Belang.
Colleagues, good morning. I hope I'm audible.
It's correct, sir. You're audible.
Okay. May I invite you, Brian, to flight the unamended agenda?
Will do, sir.
Recording in progress.
Right. Thank you very much, colleagues. I don't know how are we doing in terms of attendance. Do we meet the quorum?
We do, sir.
We do meet the quorum.
That's right.
Okay. Let me welcome all the colleagues on the platform and thank them for availing themselves. The delegations from the department is as follows. The Department of Military Veterans is represented by the Acting Director General, Admiral Ohlongwane. He is leading the DMV delegation. And the Department of Defense is represented by the Acting SecDef, Dr. Kamede. Dr. Kamede is in the meeting with the team from the DOD to support her in this meeting. We also have on invitation Mr. Kabelo Jonathan. He is a director for special pensions in the government, in JIPA, Government Pension Fund. What does AA stand for?
Administration Agency.
Oh, Administration Agency. Thank you very much, Mr. Murray. It's an entity under the Department of Treasury. Of course, it reports to the Portfolio Committee on Finance. So, meeting with this entity. There is interference here. Can you mute this person, please? Can you mute him? Thank you.
It's done, sir.
Thank you. So we're meeting with this entity for the first time. It's Government Pension Fund Administration Agency. It's represented by Mr. Kabelo Jonathan. He is the Director for Special Pensions. And let me just look at the platform, at the list on the thing. Okay. I've also been advised that the Minister of Defense will be present, and I can see her on the platform. Let me welcome the Minister of Defense, Honorable Thandi Modise. Welcome, Madam.
Thank you very much, Chair.
Thank you. Right. So this is the colleagues, and they will be introduced when the leaders of the delegation take the platform to introduce the matters that are on the agenda. And having said that, let me welcome everybody, all the guests. This person is harassing us. Is Sizwe D. Please, can you mute your mic? So we have all those that I've introduced that will be presenting, and I welcome them as well. Colleagues, thank you very much. It's your meeting, and I was doing the honors on your behalf. Let me move to item number 2, apologies. Are there any apologies, Mr. Brian?
That is correct, Chair. We have 2 apologies. The first apology is from Ingosi Tebekulu. The second also being from the Deputy Minister. Those are all the apologies, Chair.
Thank you very much. Those are the apologies for the meeting today. 2 apologies. I present them. Colleagues, any objection to us accepting those apologies? No.
Chairperson, no, we must take note of that. My apologies. We must take note of that. Although, in terms of military veterans matters, it's a pity the Deputy Minister always attended in the past, so it is a bit of a surprise, him being responsible for military veterans, that he's not present, but I assume there are good reasons. Thank you.
Yeah, no, it's a valid apology, Mr. Mare. It does happen that we miss 1 or 2 meetings owing to other competing arrangements. So I don't think it should be any problem. But the good thing is that the department is in the meeting, is represented by its acting HOD, and on top of that, the minister responsible for the overall department is in the meeting as well. Thank you very much. All right, so these were the items, and this special request received from the Chief of the Defense Force, who requested that we defer item number 5 to the next meeting. And the reason being that the matters that are referred to in the item are being processed and finalized. And I thought I should present this request and motivate to the committee to accept the request. At least it gives them a bit of time to look at the matters and then come and present something more concrete when we meet with them at our next meeting. That meeting will be in the next quarter, colleagues. And do you grant the request?
Chairperson, just before we grant the request, obviously one is always appreciative of the fact that the chief is very busy and he needs to respond to these things. Although consequence management in DOD, the acting SecDef is responsible for, not the chief. So I'm not quite sure why this is the case. Surely this agenda and our program has been out for quite some time. And I know that the minister has been on record about the importance of consequence management. So it is a bit of a I don't know if it's a coincidence, but it's a bit of an anomaly that when it comes to consequence management, that we need a delay or an extension on that in the military. So that is a bit of a concern. However, we must prioritize this for early in the last quarter of this calendar year, because this is incredibly important. This is part of discipline in the whole Defence Force. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Any other comments, colleagues? Okay. It doesn't look like there's any comment. I think it means support to the mover. Mr. Mare, you are right that the SecDef is an accounting officer, but when it comes to disciplining or taking disciplinary actions against the members of the Defence Force and no one else but the Chief of the Defence Force is by law empowered to do so. So it's correct that when the matter is transacted, the Chief of the South African Defence Force is present in the meeting to give account on the actions taken in respect of some reported financial irregularities or mismanagement or misconduct. And that in the same meeting, all the chiefs of the different divisions are also present. I take it that is a big item because it refers to the uniform section of the Defence Force. And the SecDef, it's empowered to deal with the civilian section of the department. So even though she reports on all of them, but it's proper that we also deal with the matter in the presence, and that when the person who is empowered by law to effect consequence management asks for a bit of time to prepare and finalize a report for submission, that we grant time. And maybe that there's no objection to that, and we'll grant time. So we'll have this item when we come back, I think in the next 4 or 5 weeks' time. So we'll schedule it, reschedule it accordingly. Thank you very much. Then takes us to an amended agenda, which now has 7 items instead of 8 items. Thank you very much. Let's then move to the first item, the update by the Minister of Defence on the, update by the Minister of Defence and the Department of Military Veterans on the status of the Military Veterans Pension Fund. Just a brief background to this item. On the 30th of August.
Apologies, Chair. We have a hand from Mr. Mutle.
There's a hand from Mr. Mutle?
That's correct, sir.
Yes, Mr. Mutle?
No. Good morning, Chair. It's fine. You have made a ruling. I wanted to speak on the item that you have already made a ruling. We support that ruling.
Oh, thank you very much. Thank you, Mr. Mutle. On the 30th of August, I'm sorry I missed your hand. My apologies. On the 30th of August, we met the committee met to receive a presentation from the Department of Military Veterans on their budget and the expenditure thereof. One of the matters that came up sharply was the issue on the progress on the pension fund rollout. And the colleagues will know that last year, a sum of about 36 million rand was allocated to the department for the rollout of the pension fund. And there were delays in rolling out the pension, and which then meant that the money that was made available for pension rollout meant that be surrendered back to Treasury. So 36 or 38 million rand was surrendered back to Treasury. We're not too happy that that happened, because it's money that Parliament made available to support the rollout process to the deserving military veterans who really need this money. This year, a sum of about 331 million rand is budgeted for the rollout, pension rollout, and the target date was the beginning of the financial year, and it has not happened. It's now 6 months later since the money was made available, was budgeted for, and not a single cent of it has been spent in this process. So we were told, at the last meeting, we were told that the Government Pensions Fund Administrative Authority, is not agents, it's authority. The Government Pensions Fund Administrative Authority had completed the applications of 394 eligible applicants and was awaiting instructions to pay. We're happy because that meant progress. 394 eligible applicants were on the verge of being were on the verge of receiving their payout. And the ministry advised us that the DMV was going to meet the Government Pensions Fund Administrative Agency. Well, I don't know, we use this interchangeably now. I don't know which is which, agency or the authority. That the ministry was going to meet, that the minister and the DMV were to meet the Government Pension Funds Agency or authority on the progress of the pension rollout. That was also good news because it meant there was some movement in this regard. There was some action, especially after we received the news of the pending payout to the 394 applicants. We had agreed that we would meet again today, later, to receive feedback on the process. So this is the day that we are meeting as the committee to look at the progress in respect of the matter, pension payout. So I'm happy that the JIPA government pension administration agency or authority is present in the meeting and is represented by the director who is responsible for special pensions, and he will be in a position to fill us in as to when they are likely to press the button, a pay out button. And we were told that they had received over 15,000 applications. Maybe you would also brief us about the progress they are registering in processing the whole batch of the applications. So having said that, I will grant having introduced the issue, I'll grant the Honourable Minister to make her opening remarks. Honourable Minister, thank you very much.
Thank you, Chair. I seem to be struggling to open my video, so we're trying to see if I can change gadgets later on. The Acting Director General is here, and I see that most of the people responsible for pensions in the Military Veterans Department are also in the meeting. But, Chair, what is important for us is that we, as far as this department is concerned, and the ministry, where all systems go, we have just been waiting to press the button. There was only one issue in our last meeting that we discussed was what is the quantum that JIPA would be charging us. And on that note, we then, as a meeting, had agreed that we must meet up with because the Deputy Minister was having a meeting with the JIPA, the DG was having meetings with JIPA. It was only polite that I meet the Minister of Finance and discuss this matter. So whatever is holding us up is not in the Military Veterans Department. Whatever is holding up is, and I'm happy that JIPA is here, is something that the JIPA and Treasury must tell us, because we are ready. We would have been happy to have rolled before September on this pension. So I'm trying to set up another urgent meeting with the Minister of Finance so that we can find out what is holding us back. But as far as I know, I have not received any subsequent report from the department that there is something else cropping up that is deterring us from running with the pensions. But as I said, the Acting Director General for the department is here, and maybe I should ask him to elaborate to the committee where we find ourselves. And that is someone.
Thank you very much, Minister. Honorable Admiral Sangwani.
Good morning, Chairperson, the Minister of Defense, and all senior members present in this meeting. Yes, Chairperson, we met with JIPA, I think 3 weeks ago. It was also all systems ready to go, but there were just few things that needed to be addressed, and I think Minister correctly so has covered them. The issue, especially the issue of quantum, because we were supposed to sign the SLA, and the question came as to how much is it that JIPA is going to charge us. And correctly so, CFO requested that they put the percentage in the SLA because it cannot be left as a blank check. And they agreed to do so. But with the meeting that we had, also they indicated that already 15,000 people have registered, and out of that 15,600 members qualified. But having spoken to DM yesterday, he indicated that preferably the presentation that we went through with JIPA is the latest update that should be presented to the portfolio committee as to say where the issues are at the moment. Thank you, Chairperson. And we have, sorry, sir, we have Mr. Kabelo who will be presenting that update that we agreed upon.
Okay, thank you very much. It's Mr. Kabelo, Jonathan.
Yes.
Thank you.
All right.
Let me from JIPA.
All right. Thank you, Chair, and good morning, honorable committee members and the Minister of Defense, and also let me acknowledge the Acting Director General for the Department of Military Veterans. Yes, Chair, I'm standing in for the Chief Executive Officer, who unfortunately is attending the advisory board from 10 o'clock. Indeed, Chair, we did meet with the Deputy Minister of Defense on the 30th of August and provided the status quo to the Deputy Minister and then what other administrative challenges we're currently having. Chair, I can confirm that the GPAA is ready for the rollout. Our ICT infrastructure is finalized and ready. We've done all the testing in the system, and currently if the members apply, we capture the application and then we issue them with the reference number. That one is finalized, Chair. The payment model of the system is also tested. It's ready for rollout and payment. When we met with the ministry on the 30th of August, Chair, we were sitting at approximately just over 15,000 applications that we received, as Admiral has indicated. Yesterday, the report I got was that we now over 16,000 that we've received. Now, Chair, in terms of the admission process, in terms of what could be the challenges that are hampering us from rolling out, Chair, you may recall that the Minister of Defense has published the pension regulation on 15 December and allowed 30 days for members of the public to make their comments. And then after that, on the 25th of April, another regulation was publicized, which made just minor corrections to the previous one. Particularly the one key one that we saw was the addressing the issue of definition of the military veteran, because for the 15th, that one was not in line with the act, but that one has since been addressed. And then we were informed on the 30th that the minister has now signed the final regulation on the 31 July. So we're waiting for that one. Once it's gazetted and publicized, I think can stop the GPAA from paying. And then another issue in that one, we've indicated to the Deputy Minister that the effective date is very important, and then she will be meeting with the Minister of Finance and address an issue of the effective date. We did propose that because the 36 million that the chair indicated to Treasurer has indicated, we cannot go back to that. However, for the months that have passed in the current financial year, we propose that Treasuries be requested to allow us to pay retrospective from 1st April as we are still in the current financial year. Should the Gazette go out either today or tomorrow, and the effective date is 1st April, we would pay those areas from 1st April and process applications. When we met on the 30th, we did indicate to the Deputy Minister that we are worried that by the time we start paying, the appointment of the Military Veterans Appeals Board was not finalized because majority of the people will be rejected, as we've indicated. And once they are rejected, many of them will lodge the appeal. And then we requested that the minister fast track the appointment. Yesterday, when we checked with DMV, the letters of appointment was issued to the members. So we can confirm that the appeals board is in place. Our only issue, Chair, the numbers that we've indicated, the 16,000, majority of the people that have applied as a prerequisite in terms of the regulation, a prospective applicant must be in the national database of the Department of Military Veterans. Majority of those applications were received. When we check in the database, they don't appear there. It will be unfair for the GPAA to reject those cases on the basis of that, because now the DMV has closed the verification process. We've requested through Admiral that they resuscitate the verification process so that those members who are not verified, they are subjected to that verification process, which will increase the numbers of qualifying applicants. Those are the minor glitches that we referred to. But what we can confirm, Chair, is that the system-wise, the GPAA is ready. All our national office are receiving applications and capturing as indicated. So the only key thing, one, is the gazetting of the final regulation that the Minister of Defense has signed on the 31st. When we spoke to DMV yesterday, they did indicate that they're just waiting for government printing. They have communicated and their SCM has issued an order to that effect. That is the only thing that we're waiting for, Chair. Should it be publicized by tomorrow, the first person will be paid by tomorrow, Chair. Our system is ready. Thank you, Chair.
Right. Thank you very much. That represents significant progress. Do you still confirm the number, 393, that have been captured and ready to receive payment, or the number has since increased?
The number has since increased, Chair. That 295 is an old number. I think when we started around March, April, the number has exceeded that now, Chair.
Roughly,
but in terms of, remember, Chair, I've indicated that we've received more than 16,000 now, but the ones in terms of our preliminary assessment, we can confirm that just over 600 would qualify. The others who have applied, there are two categories. One, those who may not qualify is because they are receiving in excess of the proposed 5,200 monthly. Either they are receiving special pension or they are receiving the GPF pension monthly and also receiving military pension. That's category number one. Category number two is those who don't receive the destitute, not receiving any pension dispensation, but unfortunately, they are not in the national database of DMV as a prerequisite. They need to be subjected to that particular process. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you very much. So the two qualification criteria, I will open it up for the colleagues, is that you must meet the means test. You said what is the threshold? 5,000?
When we started this process last year, remember when you look at the calculation model that was agreed upon with the actuaries, is that the baseline will be the old age pension with a multiplier 2.5. So last year, before end of March, we were going to pay them around 4.9. when the Minister of Finance, with this budget speech, increased the baseline, which is the old age pension, now it is increased. They will get a monthly in the current financial year of approximately 5,200. Should the following year, in the February budget speech, if there's another increase, so once the baseline is affected, if the baseline times 2.5, then it will definitely increase the monthly. So I can confirm that currently is approximately 5,200. Should we start paying retrospectively from 1st April, we will pay those forfeited monthly from 1st April to current, and then the following year, member will receive his monthly, which is 5.2. However, Chair, there are those members who are currently receiving some dispensation in government. You might find that the veteran is receiving special pension, approximately 3,800 in special pension. So we will only pay him a top-up, the difference between 5.2 and 3.8 as a top-up. But those receiving in excess of the 5.2, we will send them a letter indicating that they cannot be approved because they're already receiving more than the proposed quantum. Thank you, Chair.
So that speaks to other people who are not receiving any form of pension.
Correct, Chair. Which is the objective of this particular pension, to address the destitute military veterans.
Okay. So, no, thank you very much. And I think the point is clear enough. But just before I allow members to make comment, let me just go back to the department. Are you still together on that one, Honorable, Acting AG, the HOD, Acting HOD?
Thanks, Chairperson. Mine just to add that, yes, as Mr. Jonathan has indicated, that the final regulations have been forwarded to the government printing works. And also on my side, Chairperson, I'm a bit concerned on the issue of retrospective payment, because in the PTT meeting that we had with Treasury, they pleaded that because of the money that has been budgeted for, they request that we should not do retrospective payment. So I'm not sure if that is being done. Should be an agreement between Treasury and GPAA. But they made it clear to say, please don't do retrospective payment. It will have serious repercussions for the organization. Thanks, Chairperson.
Right. Jonathan, what do you say on that? I just want all these issues to be clarified before I open it up. What is your comment on the retrospective payment vis-a-vis the fact that Treasury raised some concerns around that?
All right. Thank you, Chair. The advice that we provided the Deputy Minister of Finance on the 30th was that the issue of retrospective in relation to previous financial year, it's highly unlikely that Treasury would agree for us to pay from 1st December last year. But we propose that they engage Treasury in relation to the current financial year, because the financial year is not finished yet. We are only in the second quarter. That it will only be fair that they propose to NT that we pay from 1st April, because funds of the current financial year are available and not exhausted yet. We have not reached the end of the financial year. That is what we've proposed, Chair. I'm not sure if the meeting that was proposed between the Minister of Finance and Minister of Defense, accompanied by the DMV, the Deputy Minister, whether it did happen or not. But I don't see how NT could reject the one for the current financial year, because the financial year has not finished yet, and those funds are still available. But the one for last year it's a mountain to climb to convince Treasury on that one. That one I know in the presidential task team, the National Treasury delegates that were they did indicate that that will not happen. They're referring to the 36 million that you referred to, Chair, for the 2021-22 financial year. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I think it makes sense. I really understand the position you're presenting, that because the money was not rolled over into the new year, the 6 million rand was not rolled over into the million rand into the new year, so it's no longer available. So we can't therefore pay against it. With the payment can only happen against the money that is available in the current budget. So the issue is whether we make 1st April a date of for a bad date or any other date. But you're actually saying that must be in the effective date must be in the Gazette. Is that what you're saying?
Yes, Chair. The effective date has to be in the Gazette, because why should it be that way? For administrative purposes. Remember, once we disburse these funds, the following year, come May, the Auditor General will come and audit us. And then they will say, Kabelo, why did you pay from 1st April? I would have a legislative document that shows that the effective date is 1st April. But if it's not there, and we go ahead and pay from 1st April, we will not have a leg to stand on. So the effective date must be mandatory and must be published.
Thank you very much. Acting HOD, and it's the Gazette that is out for print that is out for print has that amended as 1st of April, the effective date.
Thanks, Chairperson. No, just taken aback. It's not what we agreed upon, and is not in the Gazette.
You see, that will be a snag if it is not in the Gazette, and it will delay the whole. Let me allow the Minister to say 1 or 2 words and then open it up for discussion.
Chairperson, thank you very much. I agree that that would be a snag. I also agree that, in fact, we do not have anything to discuss with the Minister of Finance on the matter of starting on the 1st of April. We are within this financial year. So maybe what we need to do is by today sign off an amended document to be gazetted as soon as possible, so that we include that date. Okay. Now, if government printers are taking so long, it is frustrating. But we can do that as quickly as possible, Chair.
Thank you very much.
For us, we are going back to April. We are going back to the beginning of this financial year, and that's it.
Thank you. So the Minister to amend the Gazette to make 1st of April as the effective date, 1st April as the effective date, All right. So can that happen before the end of this week, Minister? Is it possible?
It's possible. It's just amending the date. It is possible for us to effect that amendment today.
Okay.
It seems that we are at the mercy of government printing now for the publication of that Gazette.
Thank you very much. So I said the amendment will happen before the end of the week. Thank you very much, Minister. Were you done, Minister, before I open up for the discussion? Were you done?
I was just saying, just a small thing, Chair. Ndate Jonathan refers to DMV having stopped verification. In fact, one of the reasons why we have had people charged is precisely because of the tinkering with the people who were supposed to verify, the verification board. It has not been stopped. We're trying to untangle the mess that is there so that verification can continue. So we're working on that, Chair, and we maybe we will talk Linda to see how, if we don't come right with the existing structure, we can effect an alternative as soon as possible. But verification must stand, the means test must stand.
Okay. The verification must stand and the means test must stand. That's an instruction the minister is giving out to you, acting HOD, as well as Chipa. I wholly agree with her. Right, colleagues, I now open it up for the discussion. I thought I should just put these two sides so that the story it's coherent before I open it up for the discussion. Marie, your hand was up first. I see Samsung. Who's Samsung? Who's Mr. Samsung? SM8336E.
I'm sorry, Chair. This is Tamin Tenteni, the advisor to the Deputy Minister. My gadget does not record my name. I'll change that. But this is Tamin Tenteni.
You wanted to come in before we move. Let me allow you to come in because it's still part of the technical information we need. Come in, Mr. Tenteni.
No, sir, I'm not coming in. I just wanted to. I was answering the question as to who is Samsung.
Oh, I see.
I'm not coming in, sir. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much.
Yes.
Yeah, but he has two gadgets. Because there's one Tamin Tenteni and there is one Samsung. So one of them must go.
Please, if you could attend to that, Mr. Tenteni. All right, there's Samsung and Tenteni, and one must go. Thank you very much, Minister. And Honorable Mare, and then Tseko Mafanya, and then Mr. Shelebe, in that order, please.
Thank you very much, Chair. Thank you to all the presenters. I think this was a very constructive and positive feedback, and I think the clarifications was also much appreciated. I just wanted to ask, my first question is, and I know that we have asked Brian in the past, when will we as the committee see a copy of the final regulations? I mean, it doesn't have to be the ones that is signed, but if we can get a copy of that final regulations as it is published now, or ready for publication, can we request the Minister and the DG or the DG, acting DG, to maybe provide the committee with a copy of that? That'll be much appreciated. Then, as I understand, and the whole matter of the backdated 1st April, I think that is excellent, and we all support that. We must just make sure that the budget that we have and those that we approve, the applications that we approve, that we do not run out of money before the end of the financial year, because that will cause a much bigger problem for us. So provided that we are within that budget for the financial year, wonderful, then I think we all support that. And I think the military veterans absolutely deserve it, that we must date it back to the 1st of April. I just wanted to ask a few questions for clarification. The DG must just respond to us with regards to the database, because the Minister is quite right. There should not be a stop of a verification process. In fact, this is an ongoing process. As new applications is received, it must be verified. That brings me to the next one. Where do military veterans apply? Because I've seen some apply directly to GPAA, or some apply directly to DMV. Now, to DMV, if it is done that way, then one must ask the question, to what extent does GPAA have direct access and on time, in time, access to the military veterans verified database? Is that integrated into one so that they can, with the push of a button?
Mare, let's not discuss the database. I will arrange a meeting to discuss the database.
Okay.
Let's say there's a database that is in place, and which members verified. There's issue of pension. The two must then happen once we deal with new applications and so on at a later stage.
Okay. But the integration of the system, because that will allow GPAA to immediately react as they are verified. So that is important for me. And then obviously, Chairperson, as you have ruled now, the DMV will have to come back to us with regards to that verification process and that delay, because that will mess up the whole issue. So and then I just wanted to ask about the appeals board. And the minister has also made reference to that, because that might play a major role in this process. I am not aware that anything with regards to the appeal board or the appeal board member or the process of, regarding the appeal board has been reported to us. If I missed that, I apologize, but if that can just be resent to us so that we know exactly where we stand in that regard. Chairperson, yes, I think, and as soon as we can start with the payments, I think we all will rejoice, and military veterans will have a wonderful 2023. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Mr. Mare, and Mr. Tsakoma Mafanya. It's Washington Mafanya. That's
right. That's right, Chair. Thank you very much. The man in red.
Your agent, your American agent.
Thank you very much, and the leadership. It is quite inspiring to get this report that we have waited for this long to come to a conclusion. And thanks to you, Minister, also. The question that I have is that to date, there are almost 600 people that have been approved and verified that they are going to be the recipients. And then out of a number of 16,000, that has got to be taken into consideration as well, that some might even succeed. And then how long for you is going to take to process that number, taking into account that 600 is a number that have gone through and it took quite a long time. And then number two is that I would like to pose this issue to the committee. When we did an oversight in Pretoria, the unfortunate part is that we never had a chance to probe matters at the Pretoria office, Mental Veterans Office, because we arrived late, and then our submission is that we did an oversight. In fact, we did not. We just visited the place and we never engaged to anything. Now, taking into consideration that this thing has been there for almost quite a long time, since 2011, it is now that we are coming to clarity of thought that these things are doable, which I think that should have long been done anyway. Now, now I'm speaking with authority that in the past there's been a lot of corruption, nepotism that has been happening with some of the members who are still within the DMV. And now, the question that I always ask myself is, are the same people going to be able to manage to execute the instructions of the minister? Because had it been that you were here before, Minister, I think we would have dealt with this a long time ago. Because it has been a repetition of issues that we complained about, that we probed, and we could not come up with answers because of the dubious characters that were there, and then incompetent, even, you know, the skills of those people who are manning the DMV is questionable. Also, taking into account also, there's also the issue of the appeals board and many other things that has to happen, and more so that we have provincial offices, which are from where we sit, that are very incompetent people who are working that. Yes,
Mr. Mafanya, please don't mix issues. We're dealing with the presentation on pension. I will call the department in to deal with other matters, so that we're clear as to what our resolution is on the pension and the pension roll and the pension rollout.
Fair enough, the resolutions have been arrived at. The minister has issued instructions that what needs to be done, and that is why I said it has been a good presentation thus far that we also accept. So I will park my matter there. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Yeah, I appeal to colleagues not to mix issues, so that we are clear. What is it that we are resolving on? Even people, the military veterans themselves who are listening to this presentation, they are clear, how much they must expect, what are the requirements, how much they must expect, when they must expect it, and what is the standing before them and receiving that for the time being. Once we have that put aside, we can then discuss other matters. Malia Keshelembe.
Thank you very much, Chairperson. Chair, the first question I have, I'm looking that, those who have been approved already right now will be paid, retrospectively. Now, what's going to happen with the new batch? Say if a person is approved today, also will be paid, the same as, those who are, to be paid as from the 1st of April. Because I'm checking now whether you start looking at the approval date, or you just, if the person applies, say maybe in May and get approved now, is that person going to be paid the same as the person who was approved before May? I'm trying to get the clarity on that one. And another one, Chair, the minister is saying if this, the Gazette is published, say tomorrow, or the day after tomorrow, they will be able to start, effecting the payments. I'm checking off the meetings that the minister has said he is trying, to engage the Minister of Finance. That is that meeting not going to delay, the unrolling of the pension, so that at least now we do not end up like we are lying when we speak, because we say this will be done, but considering now the processes, also the stakeholders, like the Minister of Finance, is there any picture the minister can tell us when she expects to meet with the Minister of Finance, so that at least this thing is done? The minister is saying now she wants to do the amendment, whether she will meet with the minister first and then comes back to publish the Gazette. For now, Chair, that's all. Thank you.
Very clear. Honorable Mutle.
No, thank you, Chair. I think honorable members have addressed or raised some of the issues of concern. Maybe it's safe to say or to seek clarity on the update that is given, that at this point in time, since the applicant have already forwarded the application, and we do not have a clear indication out of this update as to when will the payment be made, because of all those issues that have been raised. Will the department be willing to make a commitment to military veterans as to, again, by when will this be rolled out? I'm saying this because, Chair, in one meeting, when we were discussing the very same matter, we raised the very same issue, and we advised the ministry to at least alert the military veterans as they were expecting. I think it was last year when it was supposed to be done, and it was not done, and they kept on waiting. Now they have submitted forms. I'm not sure if there is a communication between those that are receiving and capturing those forms, and the applicant, taking into consideration what they have indicated as means test, what the minister has instructed right now in terms of the means test and in terms of what the presenter has indicated so far as the difference between what they get as a grant and what is supposed to be due, so forth and so forth. Those analysis and those investigation, have they been done concurrently with what JIPA is doing? Because, Chair, honestly speaking, I don't understand the statement that it's always been to make payments. JIPA is ready to make payments. If it is ready, what is the problem? If JIPA is ready, then it must press the button, and the rollout must go on. So what is the main problem? That's why I'm really I really get confused by that statement every time when we are told that JIPA is ready. JIPA is ready. It's ready for what? If it's ready to pay, what is the problem? Why are they not paying those beneficiaries? Hence, I'm asking if they are doing this thing concurrently, or they are going to say JIPA is ready. Now we are going to categorize in terms of the database or in terms of the applications we have received. This is what we are still going to do, and it's going to procrastinate the whole matter to infinity, probably. If that confusion can be clarified, I'll be very happy. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Right. Okay. I think we are making some progress. All right. Let me just summarize it for you, acting HOD, as well as Mr. Jonathan, as to what you are required to respond to. For you, HOD, it's the question is, when will the members see the copy of the final regulations? I just want a clear answer on that one. And then two, if HOD, if you can send us the list of the members of the appeals board, would appreciate that in writing, so that we know who the members are, and they've not been presented to the committee. And thirdly, the question is, how long will it take you to consider the balance of the applications? And fourthly, the question is the effective date versus the date of capturing. You capture the application in December. Will that person who's captured in December or who applies in December and captured in December be backdated in April 1 this year? And how do you marry the date of application stroke capturing and the effective date, the two? And then the second one is the meeting with the Minister of Finance, that is for the minister, to deal with when is that meeting likely to happen, because it's critical to deal with the issue of the admin fee. I think the issue is the admin fee. That is not clear whether it has been resolved, the administration fee. And because the effective date, it looks as though it's a foregone conclusion. It's possible if it is the 1st of April this year. And then the last issues are those that Honorable Mutle raised. What has been the problem up to this point? Because it's been reported many times that JIPA was ready, and we are also getting the same assurance today that JIPA is ready. And what has been stopping you from paying out? You have touched on those, but I'm not going to respond on your behalf. And I'll then open it up to you. I'll start with the acting HOD.
Thanks, Chairperson. I think we also indicated that the regulations will be published on the 29th of this month, which is September. The list of the appeals board members, yes, will be forwarded to you, sir. The issue of the effective date as to when maybe the applicant who applies in December will be backdated. Yes, it will happen. JIPA will do it.
Acting HOD, I'm trained in law. You've got to be clear on that one. You've got to be clear what you are committing yourself to. You better leave it to Jonathan to answer it, because they're dealing with the administration of it, unless you are sure what you mean by what you're saying.
No, thanks, Chairperson. Yes, JIPA will answer to that one.
I would rather take his input on that one, or the minister. Yeah. Right.
Yes.
Any other?
I'll leave it to JIPA, that one.
Thank you very much. Thanks for accepting the question. All right. Okay. And all right. Are you done, Acting HOD?
I'm done, sir.
Thank you very much. Jonathan?
Thank you, Chair. And honorable committee members. Chair, let me deal first with the one that the Admiral was trying to deal with, the issue of the effective date. A person that has applied in December and a person that has applied now, how are we going to deal with such application? Chair, if we recall, when the Minister of Defense made public on the 15th of December, the first regulation, that regulation, instead of some members participating and reading the regulation and make public comments to say it's aligned to what it's supposed to be, many people rushed and printed the application and applied because the applications were not open at that point in time in December. But nevertheless, when members came to our offices nationally, the instruction of our CEO to all our officers was that do not send members back. Please accept the application because these members 2011, we did not want to upset them. So the issue here is if the effective date is 1st April, whoever applied before, when we start paying, if let's say for argument's sake, the regulation goes out today and tomorrow JIPA start paying, all of those applicants will be paid from 1st April to 2023, not December, because there is no law that allows us to pay from December. We will pay everyone from 1st April. A person that is paid in September will get arrear payments from 1st April. A person that applies in October will get arrear payments in 1st April. That is the only difference. But it does not discriminate or pay more person A more than person B. I'll give an example. Let's say for argument's sake, we start paying in September and we backdate to 1st April. That person would get all the monthly benefits up until September. Somebody who applies in end of October, he will get from 1st April. Now, the person who get arrear payments until September, in October, he'll only get one monthly benefit. So at any given point, all military veterans will get the same amount. No one will be getting more or less, unless if one, because cases would differ, if those that are receiving currently either special pension or military pension will only top up the difference. And those who are receiving more, they will be given a rejection letter and indicating that you are receiving a pension dispensation, and will indicate which pension dispensation in excess of the proposed quantum.
Okay.
That is the issue.
Okay, just before you move off this one, we need to be clear. If the fellow applies in February next year, okay, it's still within the current financial year, which ends on the 31st of March next year, right? He applies in February. Will it still be backdated to April this year?
That's a very good question, Chair. Chair, there is what we call the provisions of liabilities, contingent liabilities and accruals. Even people that, for argument's sake, applied in March, but for some administrative reason, their applications are not finalized by March, we will make provision in their liabilities to say it's paid in 1st April. This is similar to special pension, Chair. In special pension, a person that applies to, let's say if the applications are open, the legislation is very clear that we pay retrospectively from 1st April 1995. So we do calculate those arrear payments and then we give them as a lump sum.
It doesn't matter when you applied.
Yeah, because the problem is the moment if you treat another person under the same legislation, same country, same statute, if you treat a person in 1st April next year different to this one, we are opening room for litigation.
Well, you've answered it very well. You can move to the next question.
Thank you, Chair. When must we? Okay, the Honorable Mare wanted to know that to get assurance that we would not exceed the budget. Indeed, we are working very close to the DMV CFO. When we start paying, we will provide DMV with monthly reports, admin reports, and the fund reports. And then each and every year, around the budget adjustments, around September, if we see that we're going to exceed, we will advise the CFO to request more money as allowed in the budget adjustment. But what we will not do is pay more than what is in the kitty. We would not put a DMV in a predicament of making irregular payments or over expenditure. That will not happen, sir. The other question was, where do applicants apply? It was by Honorable Mare. Applications, we've indicated the channel of application is all the GPAA offices nationally. We've created an email address for those in areas where there is no GPAA. I'll give an example. We've got an office in Western Cape, in the Cape Town, but people in your Calvinia and people in your Vredendal, George, they are far. They've been applying through the dedicated email address that we've created, which is milvet@gpaa.gov.za. We've received many applications through that email to ensure that no one is left outside the window period of application. However, some members who perhaps don't know, they do approach the regional coordinators of DMV in provinces, in Premier's desk. When they apply, the coordinators advise them correctly to say, the JPA office is not far from us, please go and apply there. Or some of them, they take the application, scan it, and apply through the email channel. We do receive those. Then the question was, I won't deal with the database, Chair. You indicated that it's another matter that you'll indicate.
Please don't. It's in the domain of the department, yeah.
How long will you consider applications that are not finalized? If you look at the first regulation in terms of application process indicated that the GPAA has within 90 days prescribed period to admit a member. So anything beyond that 90 days, it will, in terms of our service level agreement with the DMV, will be outside, will be non-compliant. So we'll endeavor and ensure that when a member applies, his application is finalized within the prescribed period, which is the 90 days. period. And then Honorable Mafanya indicated that, no, it's the same question like Honorable Mare, how long will it take to process the outstanding numbers? I've covered that. Then Honorable Malia Keshele, what will happen to the approved applications now? We won't do anything, unfortunately, until the gazette is out, because we need any payments that the GPAA does now without the final gazetted regulation would be irregular, because there's no legislation that is enabling us to pay. So that is the only thing that is keeping us not making any payments. Because AG will clearly say you pay, you even went to an extent of paying 1st April. What legislation afforded you that authority to do that? Without that regulation being gazetted, there's nothing that we can do. Honorable Mutle, by when will the rollout be? It's the same. As soon as the gazette is out, at the present moment, our IT, they are done and dusted with the system in relation to military veterans pension. They are focusing on other issues within the GPAA. The system is ready. We just waiting for that gazette, and then and I'm in support of what the Minister of Defense is saying, to say she understands the issue of 36 million, but currently a need to meet Minister of Finance just to get assurance on the 1st April. Really, I agree with the Minister. Is the current financial year, the gazette must say that we will go ahead and pay from 1st April. Then Honorable Keshel was saying, not sure if there's a communication between the JIPA and employees. Once we capture, if you apply and we capture your application, the system generates what you call an acknowledgement letter, and the system automatically allocates what we call a military veterans pension number. It is a unique number. No one will have the same number as the other person. Your number is unique to your application. Should the pensioner perish at the later stage, when the spouse applies, the spouse will also get an MVP number, ends with a 2, which shows that it's a spouse, but that application will be linked to the deceased principal member. Same as the children's application. In the absence of spouse, it will be an MVP unique number ending with a 3 to show that it is a child. And then an orphan application, the unique number will end with a 4 to indicate that it is an orphan. Why the system is done in that way? So that when we produce a monthly report, I should be able to see in a desktop how many principal members are we paying currently, the annuitants, how many spouses we paying, how many child dependents we paying, and how many orphans we paying. Because sometimes when as an intergovernment department, when social development comes to us and asks for certain information on effort, it becomes very easy to show these are the orphans of the deceased veterans, if they can assist them in other means as well. So to have it in that category, it helps in terms of management information. There was Honorable Mutle. Not sure if there is a Chair, I think the only one that I need to address now is the issue of the admin fee. How the admin fee will work. Currently, the GPAA is an administrator for National Treasury benefits, which is your special pension, military pension, post-retirement medical subsidy, injury on duty, and then pension for retired judges and ex-presidents. We are using the same model as the GEPF, Board of Trustees, and the National Treasury pension funds. We're using what we call a recovery model. What happens with that, Treasury, we inform it upfront of the projection of approximately how many applications will be approved. They transfer the money into what is called a PMG account, and then we're paying these benefits from that particular account. When we started this project, we advised DMV, and our CFO has sat with them and assisted them to open a PMG account. The account is being opened. Once we start paying, we will send a request, then the CFO DMV will transfer funds into the PMG, and then we'll start paying from that. Then there's what we call, those are direct costs. Then there's what we call the indirect cost. Indirect cost in the admin fee will be, JIPA will be using its ICT infrastructure, will be using its offices for applicants to lodge appeals, to go in for queries, the call center, and all those. When we go into the GPF roadshows, there's provision for a desk that we provide for any military veteran that comes there. They cannot be turned away. We assist them. It's what we call the admin fee. How does the admin fee, how is it calculated? Currently, between National Treasury and GPF, GPF contributes to 93% of the total membership of the GPAA. 7% is for the National Treasury. So what we look at the total quantum of the total membership that JIPA administers, and then the percentage would be for that particular fund. I gave an example to the DMV CFO to say, currently, even if I use the approximate number of 600 that we've seen that eligibly could qualify, they are sitting at 0.01. The admin fee would not be a lot. The only direct cost is, should Jonathan and his team be requested to go to Mkanduli to have a roadshow dedicated to DMV, all the flights, cost, and accommodation related to that will be paid by the GPAA and recovered from DMV. Those are the direct costs. The indirect cost is that one of the membership, where provision of services, ICT, personnel, and all those. Currently, we said to the DMV, we are processing, but you would not pay now because we do not know your current membership role. But come February, for budget purpose, we would advise the CFO. So CFO, we see since we started that your membership is currently sitting as, please make provision for budgeting for X number of membership. You'd pay approximately so much in terms of admin fee. So, Chair, many of these veterans have benefited under special pension, military pension, and then non-statutory force recognition through GPF. Only a small number will benefit because why? The issue of the quantum. Many of them are getting more than the proposed quantum. We don't foresee how the DMV will exceed even 1%. So the admin fee would not be a lot, the way in which we've analyzed and calculated it. The reason why, Admiral, we cannot have advised the CFO that it's very difficult to put that in a administration agreement. Why? Because membership, they fluctuate. If we have that in a signed document, it would not assist because we'll have a fixed amount. Whereas principal members, they do die. So there's mortality rate and there's also admission rate in the new incoming. So what we did in the administration agreement is just to demonstrate and show that calculation of admin fee will be on the basis of the membership. Chair, I hope I've covered all.
You have. Thank you very much. I think we are done.
The chairperson?
Yes, Mr. Murray.
There's just this one, I don't know if I haven't picked it up very clearly, where I've asked whether the systems are integrated to such a level that there will not be any backlogs for GPAA when people apply, so that they can immediately do that online verification and confirmation.
In other words, you are saying that you are asking whether they have access to the database for verification before the payout. Please, can you answer the question?
All right. Thank you, Honorable Mare, and thank you, Chair. Chair, currently, DMV has given us the database that they currently have, and we've indicated in the administration agreement that as and when there are new members being admitted in the database, DMV will share that information with us, because as part of our admission process, one of the key requirements is for our administrators to verify that a member does appear in the database. If the member does not appear, we advise the member correctly to subject him or herself through the DMV process. So yes, we do have access to the current database. If there are any changes, DMV will communicate with us. Thank you.
Thank you. Are you answered, Mr. Murray?
Yes, thank you very much. But I think that emphasized the importance of the database and that it must be accessible to GPAA. Very, very important. Very important.
Thank you very much. I think we've covered all the issues. And Brian, when are we? I've not looked at the program for the following term. If we set a date, if we want to do a quick follow-up, when is our earliest, the first meeting in the first term?
Sorry, Chairperson, the next term begins on the 11th of October, but our first meeting that we have anticipated for the DMV would be on the 18th of October.
Yeah, it's too late. I don't want us to leave this for too long. Can we meet, colleagues? Please, can you sacrifice your 1 hour Wednesday in 2 weeks' time? We'll have a special urgent meeting to take a follow-up on the matters that were presented today.
Fully support you, sir.
Just an update on where they are, what progress they're making, and so forth. Do you agree?
Yeah, fully support you. Fully support you.
Okay, so we'll meet in 2 weeks' time. Second, in other words, please, Brian, put up an application for an urgent meeting, not next week Wednesday, but that other Wednesday, same time, 1 hour to receive the progress report on the matters that were presented today. And that concludes the discussion. Minister, your final word on this one, and we leave we move away from this item.
Thank you very much, Chair. It was just there was a question about the appeals board, why it comes now. It is because initially there was no appeals board on the verifications, and only after complaints were raised by people who felt they really did qualify to be recognized and to be on the database, that the PTT then recommended to us to set up an appeals board. So it is quite new. It has to start working. But also, we are looking at the verification board itself, because one of the problems that was there was where they were being paid from. The cost account, the cost center was in the defense and not in the military vet. So what caused a problem is to try and say you are a separate department because you've got a DG. You have a budget allocated to you. So all costs related to military veterans must come from that cost center. So it caused a little bit of misunderstanding that you cannot, because there is one minister or the two departments can interchange and what. And we found that one department was actually being parasitical on the other. So we trying to even that out. The meeting with the Minister of Finance was just about the quantum. Chairperson, you are a lawyer. You will also remember that ministers are colleagues. We are equals. I can't instruct another minister and another minister can't instruct me. And therefore, it was two colleagues going to agree, daughter, please explain to us the quantum. Can you intervene if we feel that what you want to charge, a structure that reports directly to you, charges us what we think would be unfair on the veterans? That meeting was only about that. And that meeting, as I say, will still continue, even though we had a discussion with the minister. But in this time around, it will also be about just reasserting the position that we all know when the financial year starts and ends, and therefore that we're not actually discussing the April 1. We are very clear about that one. The minister cannot take out that money which has already been allocated in this financial year, and therefore it is within our powers to allocate that money, belated as it is. Chair, those are the two that I am picking up. I need to make an unfortunate announcement to you because I am reminded that I'm supposed to be representing Minister of International Relations in Pretoria somewhere. So I might have to sneak out at 11:30.
No, that is accepted, Minister. That you have given us your time through this aspect, I think is much, the one that we're completing now, this item, the one that we're completing now, is much appreciated. So, colleagues, when we meet next week, I want, in 2 weeks' time, the department must report on the endorsement of the effective date in the Gazette. If that has happened, must report on the latest on gazetting, the Gazette, must report on the CFO, and everyone else must have met and finalized the administrative fee stroke quantum. I think the minister would have had a meeting with the minister by then of finance to put to rest the issue of administrative fee stroke quantum, so that we know that is all systems go and is not standing between the military veteran and the payout. And of course, the names of the appeals board will receive them on that day. And but doesn't mean that they cannot be forwarded to us ahead of time. So those are the matters. Oh, lastly, Jonathan, you'll be updating us on the latest figure of people who are eligible for payment at that time, because we're also monitoring progress in the manner in which you finalize, you effect, in the manner in which you speed up that process of payment. All right. So I think we can end it at that for now. And let me thank you, Minister. Thank you, Mr. Jonathan and the acting OSHOD. I think it was a productive meeting. That item, it's now done. We can move to the next item. You can leave, Jonathan, at any time you wish.
All right. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you very much. And the team from the DMV, it's welcome to. Thanks. All right, we can quickly move to the next item. The next item being, I think it's Umzimvubu, if I'm not mistaken. Am I wrong? Am I right? Am I correct, Brian? Brian is in Umzimvubu matter, Am I audible, colleagues?
Yes, you are. You are, Chair.
Chair, the next item is the engagements with DPCI.
Oh, DPCI. All right.
Yes.
Thank you very much. And let me invite the team to come and do the presentation. And the topic, I think the item, let me read the item so that colleagues, it's in other words, I think it says the status of corruption and fraud cases in the deal. I want to read it the way we are putting it, because sometimes we get the department reworking the agenda item. Sorry, I don't see the thing now. Sorry. All right, over to you. And you know what I mean. It's not the cases that Admiral Mapoto, Provost Marshal General, reported to the Hawks. Is the case to the DPCI. Is the cases that the Department of Defense reported to the Hawks. I think that's the thing. And so over to you, colleagues.
Thank you. Good morning, Chairperson. Good morning, members of Council. Minister, good morning, and Deputy Minister. Thank you very much for giving us this opportunity with the Chief of Staff, General Ramanswana, and the acting CFO, Mr. Botsi, and Admiral Mapoto. But later we will have Chief Army to lead us on the Umzimvubu presentation. I will allow Admiral Mapoto to present. It's a short presentation, and then we will take questions. Thank you very much, Admiral.
Thank you very much, Chairperson, and greetings to the members of the Portfolio Committee, the Honorable Minister of Defense and Military Veterans, and all members. We are going to present the status of engagements of cases that were referred by the Department of Defense to the DPCI, the Directorate for Priority Crime Investigations. I must just say in front that the cases that are referred to, or the engagements that are happening there, are not happening only between DPCI and the DOD, even if the cases involved the DOD. There are cases that are referred for investigations from the SIU, others that are referred to them straight from the NPA, depending on how they have been reported. At the moment, the first case that we are reporting on is the case that involves the refurbishment of one military hospital, which involved a value of 10 million. And on this case, IGDOD, Inspector General, Department of Defense, contracted Abacus Forensic Investigation to investigate this matter, and they've completed their investigations and submitted back to the DOD with recommendations to forward the case to the Directorate for Priority Crime Investigations to institute the investigations on this matter. The matter then was forwarded to the DPCI in September of 2021, and they registered an inquiry number 2 of 9, 2021. At the moment, the department is awaiting DPCI investigation to be concluded, and they can furnish us with the result of their investigation. The next one is a case that deals with the ICT services and licenses and fees that were not evaluated in accordance or alleged to have not been evaluated according to the criteria stipulated in the bid documentations. A case docket was open related to this matter at Dekwa Military Police as case number 097-2019. The value involved was estimated at 216. And as the case was registered, the Chief of the National Defense Force in 2019 instructed that in conjunction with IGTOD, the Adjutant General and the Military Police, that this case should be forwarded to the SIU and the Hawks. So this case was forwarded to them, whereby after investigation, the service provider considered that they overcharged the Department of Defense with them entering into an agreement with the SIU to pay back 41 million. And it was since gathered from our finance that SIU has received an amount of 39 million. The paid to the Department of Defense. The SIU is in process of collecting the rest of the amount that is left and looking at the other interest that can be paid to the Department of Defense. The investigation is still in progress against the relevant role players who have led this overcharging of these items to the defense force. These are the only cases, but as I said, there are other cases that have been sent not from the department, some from AGSA, some from NPA, and they are under investigations. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, colleagues. Thanks, Admiral Mopoto. Colleagues, any other comment? Or any comment?
Thank you, Chair. Thank you for the presentation. I just wanted to make sure about the one military case. There's been, I recall, there's been a number of matters being reported to us. I'm not quite sure which of that was reported for further investigation and whether we can just get the confirmation on that. I know that there was issues about subcontractors and there were issues about staff, the involvement of staff in that and the investigations, the internal investigations in that regard. So I just wanted to make sure about who and what has been referred to for further investigation. And then I just wanted to make sure the cases that they refer, is that cases that has been reported to them for further investigation that they then decide to send on to the Hawks or whoever, or do they identify cases themselves for investigation? I specifically want to ask about, some sensitive cases. How do they deal with that? Because we know that if it's and when it's in the public domain, it can be a bit sensitive for the Defence Force. I have recently, and specifically this morning, read in the Daily Maverick an article on the Defence Force, and quite a lot of allegations that have been made against high-level people in the Defence Force, which is concerning, and there are even court documents being published on Open Secrets website in that regard. Do they identify those cases as well and refer that, or are they only waiting for someone to report it to them before they act on that? Thank you very much.
Right. They were asked to report on the cases that they referred to the DPCI to report progress on those cases. And they have reported two, and they are saying that they can't report on the cases that were reported by other agencies, even though they refer to matters that happened within the department. I think that is fair. I take note of that point. So on your question, Mr. Murray, it seems to be wider than the scope of the item, but I'll still let them deal with it. Any other question? All right. Please deal with Mr. Murray's comment.
Thank you, Chairperson, and thank you for the question, Honorable Murray. The issue of 1 mil that you are referring to was the one that I think I've said that it was investigated by the forensic audit was done by Abacus, which then had recommendations that said to us we must refer to the, in fact, they said the SAPS, but we chose to take it to a high level to the Hawks so that at least we can receive a priority there. We don't identify cases from us, we actually engage with the Adjutant General and the NPA to assist us in terms of the capacity that we might be lacking in terms of investigating high-profile cases of that magnitude. And based on that, we have acted on what Abacus has recommended and move the case to get to the Hawks. So there's no cases that we go and just report to the Hawks. We wait for cases that are reported and we forward them to the Hawks as per our own analysis with the Adjutant General, who is our legal SN in the Department of Defense. I'm not sure if I covered it. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Okay. Right. Acting SecDef, do you want to make a concluding comment on this one before we pass?
No, Chair. It's what he's saying is correct. From our side, what we would monitor is that the companies that were cited in the report are not used in the Department of Defense. Thank you.
Thank you very much. So are you happy with the report, Acting SecDef? Can we pass?
We can pass if the committee is happy.
Okay, so we are passing. All right, colleagues, thank you very much for that. We'll keep monitoring developments on that front because as these are serious matters indeed, and the state lost money, and our interest is the extent to which the money lost is recovered, and the people responsible are held to account. So thank you very much. We'll keep track on those issues so we can pass. Right, let's move to the next item. It's a presentation, an update on Umzimvubu Regiment matter. And just a quick background to that, colleagues. Just a quick background, yes. This matter is coming to us, before us, for the third, I'll tell you now, for the third time. The first time it arose is on the 15th of February 2022. And we met again to consider the matter on the 14th of September 2022. We met again this year on the 18th of April 2023. And the whole matter relates to the call-up that happened following the July 2021 unrest. So there were allegations that some members were called up, were paid, and others were not paid. And we were also informed of irregularities that accompanied the call-up. And to the extent that there were irregularities, and the chief army convened a board of inquiry, and the board of inquiry they reported their findings. The findings are as follows.
Hello?
I just want to mention that the findings are. General Mbata, please mute the findings of the board of inquiry that the chief of the army endorsed as recommendations to be forwarded to the chief of the South African Defence Force are as follows. The members the recommendations. The members responsible should be held accountable through the military justice system, and both affected enlistees that meet the criteria and those who do not meet the criteria for call-up to be considered for compensation. Very clear and straightforward recommendations. And of the Board of Inquiry that the Chief of the Army endorsed, and as recommendations to the Chief of the South African Defence Force. And so we will now, in this meeting, to receive the update since the recommendations were sent to the Chief of the SNDF. Over to you, who's going to take us through the presentation, Acting SecDef.
Thank you again, Chair. We have Chief Army in the platform, and we also have Deputy Chief Army. Because he's here, I will allow him to quickly introduce the subject, and then I allow him to lead. Chair, thank you.
Chief Army Lieutenant General L.K. Mbacha, over to you.
Thank you, Honorable Chairperson, Mr. Klaba, for permitting me to be on this platform. But before I proceed, allow me to acknowledge my political principal, the Minister of Defense and Military Veterans, Ms. Thandi Modise, and also allow me to acknowledge the Deputy Minister of Defense and Military Veterans in absentia. Allow me to acknowledge the Acting SecDef, Dr. Gameda. Allow me to acknowledge the Chief of Staff of the South African National Defence Force. Honorable Chairperson, allow me also to acknowledge members of the Portfolio Committee on Defence in their attendance. I am accompanied by my deputy, that is the Deputy Chief of the South African Army. Honorable Chairperson, I must just acknowledge and admit that you have made it utmostly easier for me in terms of introducing this presentation that is going to be presented by the Deputy Chief of the South African Army. And in summary to what you said, Mr. Chairperson, with great humility and the most atmospheric respect that I have for the Portfolio Committee in Defense, was to appeal that the event of Umzimvubu should be understood, as you have clearly alluded on it, in the context of the rest of the complex environment of the July unrest of July 2021 faced by our society. The South African Army, commanded by the Chief of the South African National Defence Force in support of the South African Police to defuse, deneutralize, and stabilize the unrest, was assigned. I must also further indicate and mention to the committee that it should be noted that the South African Army at that particular point in time was at the height of mobilizing its forces, both regular and reserve forces, for the assignment that was at hand. Correctly, as you have indicated, Chairperson, 2 boards were convened. And out of those boards, the first one was on the 28th, 2021, and on the 9th of September 2022, the first board was handed over to the Chief of the South African National Defence Force for additional guidelines. After a clear perusal of the Chief, additional guidelines were forwarded to the South African Army, which led to the second board being convened, as there were grey areas to be clarified before we could proceed. The second board was convened and was also submitted to the Chief around the period of May with clear recommendations. Now, today, as you have indicated, it is to refer in particular to the progress that emanates from both those board of inquiries, which I will request, if you permit me, Chairperson, to allow the Deputy Chief of the South African Army to proceed with his presentation, and then we will take it from there. If you allow me, sir.
Thank you very much. You are allowed, General.
General Jacobo, you may proceed.
Thank you, Chief Army, sir. The chairperson of the Portfolio Committee on Defense and Military Veterans, the Acting Secretary for Defense, the respected generals and admirals, lieutenants, the respected members of the Portfolio Committee on Defense and Military Veterans. As introduced, I am Major General Monwabisi Jacobo, the Deputy Chief of the South African Army. I'm going to present on behalf of the Chief of the Army as explained, and I would request to leave the introduction as it was handled in detail by the Chairperson as well as the Chief of the Army. Next slide, please. Chairperson, this is the outcome of a decision by the Chief of the South African National Defence Force. After perusal of the board, he made these two decisions where he instructed the Chief of the Army to ensure that all reserves that were enlisted should be paid, working through the Chief Human Resources as well as the members that were not enlisted. The members were enlisted. It's a very quick win because they are within our systems, whereas the members who are not enlisted will have to go through processes. The second instruction was that the Chief of the Army must submit the Board of Inquiry with its recommendations to the Directorate of Military Prosecutions for them to guide us legally. How do we deal with the recommendations of the board? Next slide, please. Just to take you back to the old picture that you know, the members that reported at the Umzimvubu Regiment were a total of 815. Out of all those, the matter that we are discussing today is about 702. The reason being that out of all those, out of 196 members that were enlisted, 113 were paid. And then we were left with 83 enlisted members that were not paid. And then we've got a remainder of 619 members that were not enlisted. Unfortunately, in the process, we lost about 8 members, 3 being enlisted members and another 5 being members that were not enlisted. At least 1 member of the enlisted members was paid before the unfortunate death. So in actual fact, we will be considering payment of 7 deceased members. Next slide, please. Next slide, please. Thank you. So to go to details, the Chief of the Army wrote to both Chief Human Resources as well as the Adjutant General. We quickly received a reply from the Chief of Human Resources, and he demanded a couple of documents as listed in the presentations, and we were able to quickly get those documents and return them back to the Chief of Human Resources for the expedition of the payment of this straightforward 83 members. In the same note, We further requested the Chief of Human Resources to stipulate to the Chief of the Army what process shall we follow with regards to the members that were not enlisted, for the purpose of explaining to the committee. Members that are not enlisted do not have what we call force numbers, which are parcel numbers in other terms. So it's completely people who are not in the records of the Defence Force. So for anything that we need to do about the 619, we have to be advised by the Chief Human Resources, as he is the custodian of the policies with regards to human resource matters. Next slide, please. The last portion of the presentation is the letter that the Chief Army sent to Director Military Prosecutions. As instructed by the CSNDF, we were in constant communication with the Director Military Prosecutions up until yesterday. And she confirmed to us that the boards, the two boards that Chief Army referred to, they are busy looking at them, gathering more evidence, and they will be in a place to give a legal opinion as soon as they have studied them and got whatever evidence that they need. Chairperson said this is the few slides that we prepared for this presentation as it has been presented before. I will hand over back to the Chief of the Army. Thank you, sir.
Chief of the Army.
Thank you, Honorable Chairperson. Thank you, Deputy. Honorable Chairperson, I just want to indicate and re-emphasize the purpose of today, which was clearly and eloquently said by the Deputy Chief of the South African Army, which is a direct response, an instruction that came from the Chief of the South African National Defence Force, emanating from the recommendations of the Army, instructing us that they should be endorsed. I think the position is quite clear. For payment purposes, he has clearly defined the process to be followed, unpacked in the manner that he did as a clear outcome of the investigation. For those believed to be implicated, as we have clearly said also, we did identify and confirm that there was a maladministration that was detected and picked up during the entire process and incident of Umzimvubu. We believe there we will be advised by Director Prosecution of the Military Courts. I will end there for now, Honorable Chairperson.
Thank you very much. I think you've summarized the matters very well, General. Essentially, there are two outstanding issues. One, it's the Director of Military Prosecution to attend to the misconduct in terms of their own processes. And they said they are still gathering information. And then secondly, it's the Chief Human Resources who must then consider all the facts and then make the correct determination at the end of the day in view of the recommendation that all the enlistees must be compensated. So those are the two very specific recommendations, and they've since been sent to the relevant divisions. And is there any indication, General, when will the Chief HR be ready with the modalities that he was attending to? Any indication so that we know exactly when the matter will be brought to finality, at least in respect of the compensation, if there is going to be any compensation?
Honorable Chairperson, if you would allow me, what I know that the Chief Human Resource is working around the clock to bring this matter to finality. At this stage, it would be very difficult for me to confine it to timings, but I can attest that he is treating this matter as an urgent matter.
Okay. Right. In view of it being urgent, Chief, we will consider it urgent as well. So it means that we're going to have an urgent meeting on it, especially on that aspect, so that we know exactly how is the Chief HR concluding on that matter. As for the prosecution, I'm not commenting on it. Let me hear what other colleagues have to say on the whole matter. Honorable Mare.
Thank you, Chair. Thank you for the presentation. Chairperson, I will start off by asking, the Board of Inquiry, there have been 2 Board of Inquiries. We have only seen clips of the report in terms of when they presented that to us. Is there any way that we can have access to the report, the final report, even if we need to discuss that in a closed session meeting, because that will give us insight as a committee into what transpired and what is behind this. The second point that I want to raise is the finding and the recommendation and the endorsement was clear: pay everyone for the time that they have attended or that they have served, whether that's 30 days, 60 days, whatever that might be. Now, I want to ask, they reported there's 8 members who died since. There's actually more, I think we are aware of about, there's definitely more than that. But surely their families must be paid as well, because if they were attended and they were present, surely they must be paid as well. There are also some people that were paid, I believe, for 30 days or 45 days, and they were actually in attendance for 60 days. So I think the whole recommendation, and also that 83 members that has been reported, the recommendation is they must be paid. So when will they be paid? I think that is the bottom line, also for these members that has served there, that has attended, irrespective of the administrative challenges. And I agree with you that we're not going to deal with that. So my question is this: after 2 years, surely we've got all the information, all the names are available, all of that. When will we get feedback, and when will they get paid? Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. And please, any other comment, colleagues, before I ask the General to reply? Mr. Mare, on the report of the Board of Inquiry, let's first look at what brought up this matter. Was that there were people who were enlisted and had not been paid for the days that they spent in the base. And we asked them to give us the names of those people. They gave us the list of the names, the Air Force numbers, stroke ID numbers, and so on and so forth. So we do have that information available, and we sent it to the department to look at it, and they looked at it and they came back and said, yes, indeed, there is evidence that these people reported, but some of them did not meet the criteria, but for some reason they were allowed to remain in the base for the days that they spent there. Money was spent on them for accommodation, food, and so forth, and so on. Of course, that then springs up, gives rise to some irregularities, but that was not the focus of the committee. I want us to stay within what we were asked by the people who said who gave us the information to look at, and the rest we can attend it attend to it as part of our own budget or in-year monitoring, so that we at least we conclude this part. So as to whether we must have access to the BOI report when the recommendations are very clear, I'm not quite certain, but I leave it to the team whether that is possible. But I never thought that really we should go to that extent. We have, in other words, we have gotten what we wanted. Thank you very much on that, Mr. Mutle. Honorable Mutle.
Oh, no, sorry, Chair. I was struggling to unmute. No, I agree with you, Chair. It's just that there's one matter that must be addressed once and for all to avoid this kind of a situation to reoccur in the future. Because I think those responsible should know what is expected of them for such collapse. I mean, you can't call people and engage the HR later before they execute the mandate. All those processes should have been undertaken, and they were supposed to be a green light. You see, you'll always have a problem if you run a big department as the defense force, like a spaza shop, where you call up people and you don't follow all the processes necessary for you to avoid this kind of situations. Ensure that everybody that you have called to be part of the deployment qualifies in terms of the criteria that you want, and all their information is submitted to HR and is approved. If we don't do that, we'll always have this kind of challenges. To that effect, what have they done? Thank you, Chair.
Thank you very much. Yes, you are right. I think you are reminding me one point, just to support the point I raised in response to Mr. Mare's request for the BOI report, that a detailed presentation was made in this committee. And that, for example, there was a strict instruction that detailed who must be called up and have all the details relating to the call-up that emanated from the headquarters of the Defense Force to all the bases that were supposed to do the call-up, and with very clear criteria. And the report said the criteria was breached by the person responsible for the call-up, one. And two, worse, they replaced the committee that deals with the call-up administration with other people. And clearly, the intention to actually manipulate the processes is evident from the manner in which the whole thing was run. Number one, the command was breached. Two, the team that was meant to ensure that the committee that administers the process, that ensures that everything is run accordingly. The members of the committee were replaced and were removed and replaced. And the end results is the mismatch, that the mismasala that we ended up with, that then gave rise to the concern that was raised. So now, beyond that, I don't think that's my view. We need more information. Mr. Mare, do you still want to engage on that one? You are muted.
I want to talk.
Mr. Mare, you are muted.
My apologies. I have not. Must I respond to something? My apologies.
Okay, all right, fine. Maybe let me ask the department to deal with all the issues. General Mbata, Chief Army. General Mbata, I don't hear you.
Thank you. I'm sorry, Honorable Chairperson. I just struggled, but I'm having it right now.
All right.
I just wanted to say that partly, Honorable Chairperson, you did actually respond to the report that was requested by Honorable Mr. Mare in terms of the availability of that report and the report that was made. However, I need to indicate, based on the nature of the Board of Inquiry, which remains an ongoing investigation with all the details that are there, clearly stated in the implementation process. The easier part, which necessarily is not easy, is the one referred to CHR for payment, but the one directed to prosecution with the details that are contained there. I can say that up until the last recommendation has been implemented based on the findings that are there, the board will not be closed. It is only after that time that all these recommendations have been implemented that I, as Chief of the South African Army, will write a formal letter to the Chief requesting the closure of the board. And then it will be submitted for closure. So on that part, this is where I'm going to stop, Honorable Chairperson, as you said that the report was made available. Moving over to the question raised by Honorable Mr. Ramutla, I think here one can attest to the fact that as part of the maladministration, which speaks to the inconsistency picked up by the very same Board of Inquiry. I think, Honorable Chairperson, you said it very well. What is it exactly that was picked up? The administration that was brought in. Secondly, the log processes that were not followed, which has led to some of the equipment and processes not being followed. The follow-up question here is to ensure that it does not reoccur. I just want to indicate the unit in question, the unit that we are speaking about, is not a newcomer when it comes to this process. And recently, not long ago, and within the board also, members did attest that the Umzimvubu as a regiment has been involved in collapse in the past and currently as we speak. So we believe that the omission of not following the correct processes is also classified as part of the administration, which upon the findings of the Court of Military Prosecution, those implicated will have to face the might of the law at the end of the day, to ensure that we send out a stern warning to those who might find themselves in a very similar situation in future. This is where I'm going to end, Honorable Chairperson.
Thank you very much. Mr. Mare, you still want to come back on the, still want to do a follow-up?
Chairperson, yes, I think just from my side, and I understand the administrative processes and the legal processes for the consequences. Yes, we must learn from that, and I fully agree with the general in that regard. So, and hopefully it will be noted to such a level that we know that this is a precedent that has been set, and that this will not be repeated, because it's not fair to the Defence Force. It's not fair to our financial ability. It's not fair to those who have been called up. I think just from my side, the bottom line is there are information available to whoever must do to HR and any further investigation, all those, the officer, the OC of Umzimvubu Regiment, the leadership that was assisted him in the call-ups and the administration, all of them are available, and I believe there are documentation available for them. So it should actually be very easy. So in essence, I think what the general has said, the easy way is the payments. So I think we just need to know when will that happen and what will be the financial implication and the consequence for our budget in that regard. And I think once we get to that point, we know that when people are paid what they believe are due to them and what has been ordered by the chief and the board of inquiry, if they receive that money, I know that will to a large extent deal with all the challenges and the frustrations by many of us and those implicated. But I think it's just important to also know that those who have died, that their families would not sit and wait and not get the remuneration that their people were justified, earned when they were there. Thank you.
Okay. Now I'm happy that you are not pursuing the request you made to get the BOI, and because as it been presented by the Chief Army, that the BOI it's part of the prosecution process. It's the beginning of the prosecution process. So let's not interfere with that process for now. Let's allow it to run its full course. We'll then get the report at the end of the prosecution. We can only say that justice delayed is justice denied. Even it's not fair to all the parties, including those that are indicted in the report itself, that their matter prolongs for a very long time, and that they have to live with a cloud on their head. The sooner the prosecution finalize the matter, the better for all of us. And I know there's a reputation in the department of having matters being dragged on for a very long time. Certainly not on a clear matter like this one, where there's clearing, irregularities and committed, and so we can't allow that to happen. But I hope, we can only hope and pray that the department will speed up the process. Insofar as the Chief CR and attending to the compensation of the enlistees, all of them, and we'll await to get the report. And let's agree that this matter will be in our first meeting when we come back. So it's, in other words, about a month away. That's an appointment I'm making with the Chief CR to come and report back to us on the matter. Of course, the acting secretary is ultimately is accountable. So please take note, acting secretary, that we expect you to come back on the progress, by the Chief CR on the matter, the progress on the implementation of one of the decisions and of the board by the Chief CR in about a month's time from now. That Wednesday, about a month's time from now. Do you take note of that, Chief Acting Secretary?
Yes, Chair. I'm listening. I'm taking note of that. Thank you.
Thank you. I wanted just to hear your voice, just as confirmation that your system has not kicked you out. All right, so that is confirmed. And right, I hope we have attended to all the issues, colleagues, in respect of this matter. we can leave it at that for now. And right, we can move off to the next item. Brian, what is the next item? I think it's the minutes, if I'm not mistaken.
That is correct, Chair. We have two sets.
Two sets. It then remains for me to thank all our guests, the SecDef and the team, and the Chief Army who led the presentation in particular, and all other members of the department for a very productive meeting today. And then say they are free to exit the platform. And we can then quickly move to the next item, the minutes. We start with the first set.
Okay.
Minutes.
Thank you,
Thank you very much, Chair.
And your colleagues. All right. So minutes.
Okay.
Thank you. Minutes of the 30th of August. Is this?
You are muted, Chair.
Oh, thank you. Right, colleagues, this meeting of the 30th of August, it was the briefing by the DMV on its 2022-2023 fourth quarter report, as well as 23-24 first quarter report. It was two DMV feedback on the BRRR, and then the last we dealt with the program and the minutes. So this is the attendance register, colleagues. For correction, let's start with item number one, page number 2, sorry. Move to page number 2. Any corrections to make, colleagues? Page number 3. Page number 4. Page number 5. Page number 6. Page number 7. And the last page. Thank you. All right. Colleagues, let's check if there are any corrections to introduce. If none, I present the minutes for adoption. Are there any corrections, colleagues? Okay, no comment. It means no correction. I now present the minutes for adoption as the true reflection of what transpired at the meeting of the 30th of August. Can I get a mover?
I move, Chair.
Mutle moves. Seconded. Can I get a seconder? Can I get a seconder? Honorable Petla, are you still in the meeting?
I'm still chair, but I cannot second because I was not part of that meeting.
All right.
My final seconds, Chair.
I was going to come back to you. Thank you very much. My final seconds. Thank you. And then let's go to the next set. Second set. Mzonelo Nyonso, on the honor, remember, is still in the meeting. Let's look at the first page. So meeting of the 6th of September, and it was a briefing by the DOD on the 23rd, 22nd, 23rd, fourth quarter report, and 23rd, 24th, first quarter report. And we also saw feedback on their BRRR, and as well as the engagement on the issues of COE, and yeah, all right. So this is the attendance register. Then right to first page, if there are any corrections, colleagues. It's next page, 3. Third page, that's fourth page. Any correction? 5th page. 6th page. 7th page. Colleagues, this is the draft that I present for draft of the minutes of the 6th of September that I present for adoption. Colleagues, are there any mover and the seconder?
Mafanya moves.
Chairperson.
Yes, Mafanya moves.
Petle second for adoption, Chair.
Petle seconds. Thank you very much. Colleagues, I think that then takes us to the end of the meeting. I wish to thank everyone for a fruitful meeting. Our team, support team. The meeting stands adjourned. Thanks.
Recording stopped.